morning, class. My name is Josephine Coutinho, and today I'm going to be presenting my process analysis project. Today I'm going to be making chocolate chip cookies. This is something that I think I'm very good at, and I think my family will agree. So we're going to begin. As you can see here, I have all of my ingredients open on the table, ready for me to use, and my recipe is right over here. So what I've done is I have taken my butter and my eggs and I've left them on the counter so they could get to be room temperature for about 20 minutes. They've been out here, and this just is something that my mom taught me that you should do whenever you're baking, is to get your butter and eggs to be room temperature. I'll be honest with you, I don't really know what it does, but this is something that she's told me that I should do. So when we read our recipe, the first thing we need to do is preheat our oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. That needs to be the first thing you do so that while you're making your batter, the oven has time to preheat. Next, we need to grease our cookie sheets. This step is very important because we do not want our cookies to get stuck on the pan as they're baking. Next, we're going to need to cream the butter. This recipe calls for 1/4 pound of butter, which is the whole stick. Now we are going to measure our sugar. So this recipe requires 2 types of sugar. The first type is just your regular granulated sugar. It requires 1/2 cup of that. So you want to make sure you're precise when you measure, and just because you don't want to, you want to do everything perfectly. So we're gonna add that, and while we do that, we're going to turn on our mixer. So we're turning on our mixer, and we want to have it at a low speed just because we're gradually adding in our sugar, and we want to, cream those two, the butter and the sugar together. So next we need to get our brown sugar. Again, we need 1/2 cup of that as well. So now that I have my brown sugar, I'm going to gradually add that in. And you can see it's starting to all mix together. And we want to make sure that that is light and smooth. Next, we're going to beat in the 1 egg and 3/4 teaspoons of vanilla. So I'm going to crack my egg over here. And put it in. And you can see it's all starting to come together. I'm going to measure my vanilla using my measuring spoons. So here I have my 1/2. And my 1/4. And I'm gonna just put that in there, and you can see it's starting to come together. So now that that's light and smooth, I'm going to turn this off so that we can start mixing our dry ingredients together. So now in this separate bowl, I'm going to add the flour, the baking soda, and the salt. It's important that you keep your dry ingredients in a separate container so that they can mix evenly when it's mixed with the wet ingredients. So we need 1 1/8 cup of flour. So this is a 1/2 cup. So I need 2 of these. And then I have my quarter cup here, so we're gonna do 1/2 of that. And then next, I need a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So I'm gonna use my measuring spoons again. So here's a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And next I need a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. I'm going to take my 1/2 teaspoon and going to add that. Now we're going to mix this together, and then we're going to add it into our wets over here. Oh, that ding was just the oven, and it's done preheating. So we're going to turn this on and slowly add up so that it starts to get together. And the next step is going to be to add our chocolate chips and our nuts. The nuts I have here are whole nuts, and so I'm going to need to chop these up before I add them in. So here I am, I'm going to chop these nuts. And we want to make them into small pieces so that when someone bites into the cookie, it's not going to be a huge chunk. So I'm going to just chop them up. Nuts, of course, are going to be optional in your chocolate chip cookies. I personally like to have nuts, so I'm going to keep them in, but if you don't like nuts, you can obviously skip this step. But I'm going to start to pour them into our batter over here. The recipe says to add a cup of the chocolate chips. However, you could feel free to be generous with that and, add a little bit extra if you'd like. So we're going to measure anyway. And you can see here that our dough is starting to get stuck, so we can turn it off and kind of take it off, and just so that everything gets mixed evenly. back on. So it keeps mixing. You can add in the other stuff. And so while that's continuing to mix, we already greased our pan. So the next step, once this is over, is going to be putting the cookies onto the pan. So once that's done mixing, we're going to lift this up and make sure we take off any excess dough, because we want all of that to make it onto the pan so that we can yield as many cookies as possible. So once we do that, we're going to take our spoon and take about a spoonful sized, and we're just gonna put it onto the tray. And you want to make sure that each cookie is far enough apart where they're not going to get stuck to each other once they expand. And you're just going to repeat this until the tray is full. So now that I've put all of the dough onto the cookie trays, it's time to put them into the oven. And so the recipe says that it will take about 8 to 10 minutes. So we're going to set a timer for 9 minutes. And then we'll check on them and see if they need any more time after that. So our timer has gone off and it's time to take our cookies out. So if we look, they're nice and brown. They look like they're pretty perfect. Now we have to let them cool so before we can eat them. But here's our finished cookie, and I'll let you know how it tastes. Now that our cookies have cooled, it's time to eat them. I like to enjoy mine with a glass of milk. Thank you for watching, and let me know if you have any questions or comments.